Hi, welcome again. In part 2 of the OSPF configuration, we're going to complete the settings in router 2. We were removing the IP address from this interface, serial 00. So let's check what was actually there. Show IP address, show IP interface, brief. And then we see this is actually now removed. It doesn't have any IP. We need to add the new IP address. So the serial between R2 and R3, it's going to be 20.2.2.1, and in R3 it's going to be 20.2.2.2. So the name has to first change. Name's wrong. So conft hostname R3. That's one done. Then interface serial, we can have serial 0/0/1. That's the interface we need to add because this is the one that's actually connected to R2. We go to the interface and give it an IP address. It's going to be 10.2.2.2 and the subnet mask is /24, so that's going to be 255.255.255.0, and we say no shut. So you see the interface is now configured. If we end and then save the configuration, check what's configured there, show IP interface brief, then you see we have the right IP, we have the right name of the router. That's the things we have changed, but we need to go to the other router. Before that, we know we have used this router for static routing and we don't want to use it anymore. So let's check show IP route. We see actually there's nothing. Did we remove that? So show run. Yeah, there is. Yeah, because this, the link is down. That's why it's not showing the subnet, and the subnet is not actually what's configured on the interface. So let's remove that. Copy this static route and then go to conf terminal, then add no, which removes the configuration, and then paste your configurations, then delete. We save that and then again check show run, and that's gone now. So we don't have any routing in place in here. If you say show IP protocols, then it shows nothing. Nothing is configured. So let's save that. Go to now router 2 over here. All the interfaces are down. We need to configure 10.2.2 for fast Ethernet 00. 20.1.1.2. Let's add the interface labeling here, and we give it .2, and that's gonna be 20.1.1.2, and here 20.2.2.1. So these are the interfaces we need to configure. And let's go to the initial configuration. We don't accept. We just go to the config terminal, and then we rename this machine R2, we call it. Then we go to the first interface, fast Ethernet 0/0, and we give it an IP address of 10.2.2.1, which is this subnet over here. So what we're going to do, give the subnet mask as shown in the diagram, and now say no shut. That interface is up. Then we exit the interface, go to the second interface serial 0/0/0. That's the one connecting to R2, sorry, to R1. And if you want to remember those, you can add a description. And when you are in the interface, you can just say description, a link to R1, and the other one becomes linked to R2. And then give there's no clock, but say no shut. We are now in the interface, and configure the IP address first. So IP address, we did that one already. Now that's the fast Ethernet. So interface, it's going to be 20.1.1.2. Just make sure. 20.1.1.2, yes. And then 255.255.255.0. And then we say no shut. Now both interfaces are up because that was already configured. It was in place. But when you added that, then it became up. Let's go to the serial 00 and configure it as 20.2.2.1. So if we go and exit the serial 00 and go into interface serial 0/0/1, if you go to the interface and then give it an IP address which is 20.2.2.1. Subnet mask is 255.255.0, and then we say clock rate because that one has the DCE. Clock rate, we use the same rate, a very simple speed, 64K, and then we say no shut. The other interface was already configured, so this one is up now. If we exit and save, now if we say show IP route, the only connected networks 10.2, which is between R2 and 3, 10.1 between R1 and R2, and that subnet. These are the only ones that are up and connected. We don't have any static routing, we don't have any dynamic routing. We're going to introduce those separately. Okay, so we save now that configuration in R2, but that PC doesn't have any IP. So we're going to do this IP, this machine, using a static routing again. So if you go to the desktop and click on the IP configurations, then you can add 10.2.2. Let's give it 10, same as we did, so we can remember. So that one will use 255.255.255.0, and the default route is going to be the router interface, which was this. We have a DNS, which is 10.1.1.100, but we're not using that yet because we don't have a route until now, and this is what we'll come for. So this machine now has an IP. It can ping its default gateway, but not on that server. That server is 10.3.3.100. If we check again, you see this server has the interface here, 10.3.3. So if you copy and if we try to ping from there, and if we say ping and paste, you won't be able to reach that. Okay, destination host unreachable. That means there's no route in place. But this router, actually, this PC can ping its default gateway, which is 10.2.2.1. That's the default gateway, which is fine, but not beyond that. What we want is users in this site should be able to access services from the data center or from the internet if we connect a link off to the internet. And the users over here should also be able to connect to the data center via router 2. So how do we achieve that? We will use OSPF. And OSPF, what we need to understand is, see the networks you want to advertise are the networks in your network that need to be reached from one end to the other. So for example, here 10.1.1.0/24, it's one subnet. You will tell this router to advertise this network to the other routers, and you will tell this one to advertise its connected subnet to the other routers that are connected to it. And this network, this router, you will tell to advertise that subnet to advertise it to the other routers. And then when this advertisement is happening, what you are doing is you're creating something called area, and that area is like the domain that the broadcast happens. So we call the backbone area 0. That's what we will start with. If you add other areas behind those, later you will create inter-area OSPF routing. But for now, what we want to achieve is the connectivity between those sites. And to do that, I will record another short video to complete the OSPF configuration. Thank you again for your time.